Well, hello, everybody. Good to see you. Just a quick note before the holidays. Everybody's getting together with your family and friends and loved ones, and it's a real good time to sit down and really contemplate what's really going on. And hopefully, this time will be a great time for your family. A lot of people are struggling. I see it, and they're worried about everything because of the corruption and the globalists. I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about so many men and women I've met over the last 30, 40 years, 50 years, fighting for truth and trying to expose the fraud that we live in. I'm going to show some stuff today. I want to go through it very slowly. Share it out. This is your time to join with your family and your friends during this. You know, you can celebrate Christmas. I don't celebrate, but I'm celebrating the fact that families are coming together for this time. And hopefully, and their friends can all sit down and start really talking about the real problems we face because this is not going to go away unless we stop it. So I'm going to go back to quite a few years with Doug Christie. Yes, I smoke. I may offend some people, but hopefully not. My first one I'm going to show today is our journey. I was born in British Columbia. Most of you know that, and we had direct democracy in the five communities where we could control what was happening. We could decide. The people decide in their local community. Direct democracy wouldn't work now. People are lost, confused. One third of the population's partially awake. One third is sitting on the fence, and one third's spread out to lunch. So that's where we're sitting. And that's from a good friend of mine, Scott Rayner. He agreed. Had a good conversation this morning. I want to go through a few things today because I think it's very important that we really look at the big picture here. And the big picture is this: the globalists aren't stopping. It's the mayor and CEO that have threatened your life to kill you and murder you. It's your facts. It's the CEO and mayor that signed off all the stuff that happened in your local communities. They're responsible. The mayor is 100% responsible. Now, was he misguided? Not really. I think they most of them know. We've given them enough evidence. I mean, before the moron virus, before the bullshit. So I'm going to go back to many years. So I'm going to put the screen share on for a second. I'm going to go slow through this stuff because I think it's very important to see that there was many men working hard, vigilantly to educate the public of really what's going on. So bear with me here. I'm going to open up the screen share here. Well, when you find it, here we go. So this is a website that was created. Well, the website's gone now. It was called the Western Independence Party. So back then, everybody understood parties. We thought, back then, Doug Christie was involved in this. This is called the Whip, right? So it was a Canadian political party advocating separation of Western Canada from the Corporation of Canada to form a new country for the provinces British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and the Yukon Northern Territories. We've seen that it was impossible with the Western provinces were being destroyed by the globalists in Ontario and Quebec. And that's a fact. We all know it. Just ripping off, stealing. So the whip was ran 11 candidates in 1988. And so far we went back, but before that, the party, these provincial branches were set up. You can read the stuff here. The links will be put into the comments of this video. So the whip should not be confused with the Confederation of Regions Party, which is sought the greater autonomy of Western Canada. So that's one. So it was founded with 150 people, and like I said, Doug Christie, a great lawyer, Fred Marshall, and quite a few people, Ramsey, and there's also people in Camrose. This was the beginning of educating the individuals in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and the rest of the provinces that Canada wasn't a country; it was a corporation where you had no rights. So I just wanted to show you that real quick there, and they're going to pop into some more information here. So this proceeded. A few years later, we still continued, and we came into what many would know as the BC Refederation Party. I'm going to show you this link here. So there we go. So the BC Refederation Party. So the BC Refederation Party, Dennis Shaw, Terry Hand, Mel Gardner, many great people that really cared. So this was started up in 2000, continued on. So it went for so we looked at direct democracy controlling the legislation or creating legislation for the people so we can control the bureaucrats or the corruption by the people deciding if they were informed and had information. But nowadays there's no information. It's just all regurgitated bullshit. Pierre Palme is going to save you. And today was the stupidest thing. I remember this came out during 2000s. Oh, you want to become the fifth first state? You have to be a retard or have no brain between your ears to understand that concept. The United States corporation has hijacked all the republics. Canada has hijacked all the provinces. These are globalist things. So Alberta's a corporation. Montana's a corporation. Idaho's a corporation. They do not have a constitution for the people, by the people, of the people. They have a constitution for the parasites, so the globalists, for the parasites, to benefit the parasites, and they removed the man and woman's freedom and rights, unalienable rights. You have no say in this system. What a system that is. So the BC Federation Party, called BC Fed, was a provincial party that was in British Columbia, Canada, advocating for direct democracy and reforms to the Canadian federalism. It was formed shortly after the 2000 federal election as the Western Independence Party of British Columbia, with explicit Western separatism platform. It later renamed itself as the Western Refederation Party of British Columbia before adopting the final name as the BC Refederation. We thought refederation because most people in the Corporation of Canada believe that we federated to this thing called Canada, which there's no documents. There's no documents. There was $1,000 reward if anybody could find these federation papers to be federated. There was also $1,000 reward if anybody could produce a constitution that the people approved of. It didn't happen. A few years back in 2000, Jamie Nix came forward, and Jamie said straight out that we have no constitution. He offered $25,000 to prove that the province is federated to a thing called Canada, and nobody could find it. And so many great people look for this fake document, like the Magna Carta and then the fake document. Have you ever noticed the parasites or the globalists or whatever you want to call it? They don't call them elite families; they're not elite; they're parasites. Created these documents to give them all the rights and removed your rights. Wow, pretty good. So I'll put the highlights of the BC Federation Party in the links here for you to look at. You can go through 2005 election. I ran as an MLA and I went up against great people. I mean, Diane Lassard, she had no clue. Scott Fraser probably had a clue, but he'd been, NDP for years, Communist Party. But I met so many great people that I had standing ovations. And the people really didn't comprehend what I was trying to explain to them, what direct democracy meant, what would it give them to be able to control the politicians, to control the direction of what their local town could be doing. When you think about this logically, nobody has more power than the people locally. They pretend or make masquerade that you're going to be up here in the middle of shit caboodle, but they're not in shit caboodle, right? So when you start seeing the big picture, then you understand. So that was the objective of BC Refederation Party to explain to people. Also, we had an Alberta Refederation Party that started up too, but people were still lost in La La Land, and they are still lost in La La Land. So I'm going to move on to this next topic. I'm going to clean the screen share here. So during my travels, I want to be very very explicit here. During my travels, I looked for individuals that were working on the same projects, the same ideas, and most importantly was, give me a second here. Most importantly was what could we do differently to educate the people? So we did national tours across BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. I did one through BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and the 19 probably 85, 86, and it was pretty successful. But I still didn't get the input that I really needed. Back then, I was pretty young, and I mean, I didn't know as much as I knew that I know now, which you learn over time. The older you get, the more wisdom you get, right? The more you learn. Myself personally, I always believe that people want a better life for themselves, their family, and they want to have protection. They want to have a future. Then I realized in the future years that there's a lot of people out there that don't give a shit about other people, and they want their own protection for their own criminal activities. And that's what I found out later. And then I found out also there was the Black Panthers and Martin Luther King was a parasite. He belonged to the Bilderberg Group. They were all sideshow distractions, and people are starting to learn this stuff, how deceived they were because of the MLK Ultra TV, internet exposure, the newspapers, programming them to not to really comprehend the true effects that we're facing. So as my journey went on, um, I ran to a guy named Doug Force, and he had Mythos Canada up, which pretty much mimicked exactly what we had on the BC Refederation page. Pretty much happened what we had on the all of our other projects back to the 1988, which pretty much word for word that we had created. Not myself personally, many great people created a lot of information. We collected the information really good, and then I went on a tour across the corporation of this thing called Canada, right? And we felt it was very important to create a database to collect information. We can email people that are interested in finding this. We created this thing. Doug offered his website, and that was great. We thanked Doug for that at the time. Didn't realize later he'd be a parasite, which he was. I'll explain that very clearly what he was: grifter, scammer, and a fraud. So don't get pissed off at me. I'm just telling you the truth. Do your own research. You'll find the truth. So this went on for quite a while. And during my tour, I had to go through hard times, rough times, et cetera, et cetera. During the first tour, the second tour was better. The third tour got better. But we were starting to make momentum. And after my last tour, I got back. To make a long story short, I was tired. It was September, October. We got back. We had some meetings in Calgary. And a lady came to us and said, not just myself personally, but it was brought to our attention for quite a few of us. And we said, okay, what's the problem? They said, well, we're not going to promote the Mythos Canada. And the idea, the concept's great, but the problem is we don't want the skull and bones, this kind of crap. I said, yeah, okay, I comprehend. We can still use the information. Yeah. So we had a meeting, and the meeting was held in Edmonton. So quite a few of us met at Nikki Hurley's place to have a meeting. And we had a conference call with all the other great people working on this project. And Doug Force heard about our meeting. And he come in. He had no idea that we had, 7, 8 people sitting there, plus a conference call with quite a few other people on the conference call. And he started screaming that the Mythos Canada is the only thing. What are you doing creating another website? I said, well, we're not creating a website. We're discussing about creating a better website, more detailed for each of the provinces, more control for the provinces to start working on their constitutions, explain it to the people individually, and start doing constitutional conventions at the local level. He flipped out. I'm not here for that bullshit. I'm here for a documentary. I'm not creating a constitution. Oh, blah, blah. He went on a fucking conniption. And he had literally a breakdown. And then he realized